Hello, everyone. Welcome back.
They scared me.
Sorry. We are back with Down Syndrome Awareness, Appreciation, Acceptance Month, fun stuff. We are away from Georgia's surgery news. We are very much still dealing with Georgia's surgery recovery, and so we are very tired, but we are still committed to doing this video. So, fun fact, the day you are watching this is our 3rd anniversary.
Oh, they're going to watch this on the 20th?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's when I'm posting this. So we thought, let's do a video talking about our marriage and raising a child with Down syndrome.
Specifically, how raising a child with Down syndrome has changed your marriage.
Because it's something that comes up a lot.
Yeah.
The first thing we want to say in this video is that we are not giving advice. This is not us claiming to be marriage experts. This is not us claiming to be Down syndrome parenting experts. This is us talking about our specific marriage and our son and our experiences. Also, it should be noted, we have never raised a neurotypical able-bodied child. We have only had a son with Down syndrome. So there is another experience that we have not had. That said, we have been parenting a child with Down syndrome for 19, almost 20 months.
Very close to 20
Very close to 20 months. And so we do have an experience of what it's like to raise a child with Down syndrome.
We're experts in our own experience.
Absolutely. That's a really great way of saving it.
Same.
So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We are talking to celebrate me and Kyle's 3rd wedding anniversary.
Does it come out? Oh, we started the video. I already played my hand on that one. My bad.
We are talking all about how Down syndrome and having a child with Down syndrome has affected our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the reasons I wanted to make this video is because when Kyle and I started being very open about that we wanted to adopt a child with Down syndrome and bring that child into our family, our marriage became a topic amongst a lot of conversations. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree.
A lot of people had concerns about me and Kyle's marriage. And I personally at first didn't understand why. And then the more that I listened to the concerns that people had that they brought up, a lot of people brought up a study. I don't know the name of the study, but it had to do with the divorce rates amongst parents who have kids with disabilities.
Correct.
I'm not familiar with that study. The study that I am familiar with is the study about specifically Down syndrome.
I believe it's literally the same study.
It's not.
Because Down syndrome is the caveat.
Okay, yeah, that's,
right?
I mean,
yeah.
That's the result. Yes, was that couples who are raising a child with Down syndrome, their divorce rates are much, much, much lower than that of divorce rates of people who are raising kids with other disabilities. So, obviously, I understand people's concerns when they brought that up.
To me, it's the same thing that everyone brings to this discussion. It's just a lack of education and a lack of understanding. Like, the concern, I think, was probably always from
a good place.
Yeah, but it's just a lack of understanding.
Yeah.
Is my take on it.
No, yeah, me too, absolutely. So the first thing I want to say that Kyle and I both agree on is that I was at no point worried about our marriage when we were talking about bringing a child with Down syndrome into our family.
Yeah.
You're watching the cats?
I'm watching the cats fight, sorry.
I never had a single concern about our marriage. And not in a naive, I never thought about it way, but in a, I would not have married you.
You don't go into this blind.
You don't.
Sorry. Yeah,
right, exactly.
You just be like, hey, you want to do this? I think it's going to be really good for our marriage. No, it's something like you make that, like you choose a partner. Even because, go ahead.
I have always said, even if I did not desire to raise a child with a disability, I would not marry somebody who I was scared to raise a child with a disability with.
Yeah, because
if that was a concern, that's a red flag that you maybe shouldn't be with that person. In my perspective, again, not giving advice.
Yeah, no. In our perspective, it's like if you're scared about that, then you shouldn't have children, because I agree. Because the chances,
yes. Nobody's exempt from raising a child with any kind of disability or any kind of developmental difference, anything like that.
So specifically for us, we would not have chosen a partner.
Absolutely.
Because of the way we want to live our lives.
Absolutely. And I think that just says a lot about our compatibility and about how we shared a lot of the same values.
Yeah.
You know, and so it was never, a lot of people are very surprised when I share that it was not a big deal to you that I wanted to adopt a child with Down syndrome.
I'm baffled by that.
Right.
So many people are surprised and I don't know why.
Right. And that to me when he was not surprised or when he was not thrown off by that, that to me was like, oh, okay, this is the one for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people would have been surprised, I think, but because you weren't, it to me went, okay, he thinks like me, we share a mindset, we share viewpoints, we're going to be good partners. You know what I'm saying? Long term. So that's kind of just a brief overview of that. But Kyle and I have...
That's the overview?
Yes.
I thought that was your topic 1.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
That was just kind of like my thesis statement.
That's her thesis.
Kyle and I have each thought of one thing that Down syndrome has done to our marriage. Either
specifically to our marriage.
Yes. And
specifically Down syndrome.
Yep.
And specifically
and the rule was that it didn't have to be a good thing. It just had to be one thing that has happened as a result of it. The first thing I want to start off before we get into that is on the count of 3, has Down syndrome negatively affected our marriage? 1, 2, 3. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So let's
we would have a longer conversation tonight if that didn't turn out.
We're sitting here, we're like, you guys.
Yes.
It's been 20 minutes. So do you want me to go first or do you want to go first?
Go first.
Okay. The thing that I think that specifically having a child with Down syndrome has done for our marriage is that it has unified us. It has made us such a strong team.
I didn't even think about that.
You know what I'm saying? It has made... So even if I am mad at you about something for whatever reason...
She's never mad at me.
Even if we are fighting or we're frustrated with each other, when it comes to George and his diagnosis and like what he needs, that goes away. Right? Would you agree? I think we are very good about like... If there's a question, if he has an appointment, if he has something, we are both very much on the same page, and we are equal partners, and we are teammates.
Which is weird. I mean, no, sorry, it's not weird. It's a weird environment to be in the middle of a pandemic with that.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely since March come up a lot more than I would say it did in his first year of life. Because there's so many decisions that need to be made about how we're going to either enter society or like what we're comfortable doing, because it's not. I don't think we would be having the conversations that we have now if it weren't for George's diagnosis.
I totally agree.
Because it's forefront in every decision we make.
I also think, I've said this a lot, that adoption is a really great form of marriage therapy. And so we had to, for the sake of our home study, discuss parenting ideals, all of this stuff to be submitted to the state of Michigan. You know what I mean? To be read by judges and social workers. And so we went into this very much already decided about how a lot of our parenting, and specifically parenting a child with a disability, was going to go in terms of that I would be primarily the one to take him to appointments, you know what I mean, and stuff, you know, like tiny little logistical things. We kind of already knew.
It's like everything. It's like what did discipline look like in your house growing up?
Totally, yes.
How does that affect what you want discipline to look like? It's all these like amazing questions that everyone should talk about.
Yeah.
And it's just...
So we went into it on kind of a better foot to begin with, because we were choosing our diagnosis and we had already established a lot of our fundamental ground rules of how we wanted to be parents. So I think that me and Kyle make an amazing team. Even when stakes are really high, a great example was the surgery. When stakes were really high and we were both really anxious and we could understandably have been very snappy with each other, we were not, right?
No. Because
we were, you know, and not in a like we were bothering each other way, but just in a like when you are so overwhelmed, the only other person adult that you can, you know what I'm saying, be frustrated with. When George was in the hospital, we never got snappy with each other at group time. So his needs and his specific, the fact that we are, I think it's the responsibility of parenting a child with a disability. We share that, and it unifies us, and so a lot of it puts it all into perspective. Do you know what I mean? Like if we are having a bad day with each other, we are reminded that it does not matter. Like that in perspective is not a big deal, because we are sharing this gift and this responsibility of helping George to be the best that he can be, whatever that looks like. And I think that's been such a gift to our marriage, and I think it's strengthened it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay,
Kyle, what is your one thing that you think that Down syndrome has done to our marriage?
So I believe this is specific to Down syndrome. It might be more broadly just to parenting.
But we don't know.
But parenting a child with Down syndrome has neither good nor bad really solidified our roles, I think, more so than before, because he has so much going on.
I agree. I firmly agree.
And when we started this journey, I wasn't a teacher. Mm-hmm. I was a mortgage banker, mm-hmm. and so I had a lot of hours at work. So obviously, a lot of the heaviest lift in regards to his therapies and appointments and everything was on your shoulders. Yeah. And now things have shifted. Yeah. And I am not quite as busy on the work side of things. And it's still a struggle because, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, mm-hmm. I think a year of that stuff nonstop has kind of made that as like a part of your identity. Yeah, yeah. And so it's a little bit of a struggle, I think, sometimes to be like, yes, I can have Kyle do this. Yes. Yes. Because those roles now have were reinforced for so long. I mean, a year isn't a really long time, but when you've got weekly...
But a year in George's lifespan is significant,
multiple appointments on a weekly basis, and it's so part of your routine and your schedule to all of a sudden be like, I can take him to the doctor. Right. That's so anti what your typical identity had been through mm-hmm. with him. Mm-hmm. And so I think our roles as parents have really been solidified more so if we were raising a neurotypical kid.
I agree. And I also think, if I could add on to that, I think we've gotten really comfortable with being fluid in that. We've never done like...
We're working on getting comfortable.
Yeah, yes. And I think that's a gift the pandemic has given us, is that we are practicing and working on relinquishing certain controls and certain powers at certain times.
I think this is... Go ahead, sorry.
We're still learning each other's... we are going to be learning each other's strengths and weaknesses in certain situations for as long as we live, and as long as we have George. But we're getting into a more solid routine of how things go mm-hmm. with him and his therapies and his appointments and stuff like that. And just even, like, at one point, Kyle has brought up to me, I hope this is okay that I say, that he was getting frustrated that...
I was going to bring it up.
That he felt like I was constantly telling him about George and constantly, like, instead of you learning about it and mm-hmm. seeing it with me, he was hearing about it secondhand. And so we've had to kind of negotiate through those kind of moments. Yeah.
And I think another example is specifically what I was talking about, and so when George was in the hospital for his for his sleep study, mm-hmm. Taylor went and did that, and then I, because of my inability to do a lot of this stuff, sometimes feel like I'm missing out, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. and that I'm not carrying my load as his parent in regards to those things. Yeah. And so it was a really kind of negotiation, I guess is the only word, to figure out who was going to stay with him overnight for observation.
I think his sleep study was a super big pinnacle of us trying to like establish.
It was right around when I had, like, I was no longer a mortgage banker, and so like there's a side of me that says no, I can do this. Yeah. But then there's a side where it's like, well, no, he's going to be more comfortable with you because you're the one who's there for most of these things. Yeah. And so it's one of those things where my ego as a parent wanting to be a part of those things needs to take a backseat to what is going to be best for George. Yeah. Because there's no chance that would have gone better with me. I think you were the one he would have wanted there.
I mean, hindsight's 20/20. This could be parenting in general, but I think the additional diagnosis of Down syndrome has forced us...
It's our new refrigerator, just made ice.
To think about these things and to like really analyze strengths and weaknesses.
I think it's impossible to look at anything we do as parents without it, because that is the lens through which we view everything.
About how to parent, yeah.
Everything is through that lens. Yeah. And so, like, even if this is things that parents of neurotypical kids go through, it doesn't matter, because to us it's through the lens of parenting a child with Down syndrome. Right.
We're learning to be parents with him. That's kind of our parenting philosophy as a family, is that we are all learning together. Today is everybody's first October 18th. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are all learning these moments at the same time. We are not superior because we have lived more days than George, you know? And so I think that is true in how we view our marriage in this too, is that like we're learning how to be married parents and we're learning how to be married with a child. We are learning how to be married with a child with Down syndrome. We are learning how to be married with an adopted child. You know what I'm saying? Like, that intersectionality will never not exist in our marriage.
And I think this the all of those things, the thing that is the most, I guess, visible, for lack of a better term, is the Down syndrome. Mm-hmm. Because there's appointments attached. There is risk attached with certain health issues.
Yeah.
And so I think that is just why it takes forefront in regards to lens. There's like all these layered lenses.
Yeah.
The first lens is going to be parenting a child with Down syndrome.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. Now, all of that said, there is no denying that there are additional challenges in raising a child with a disability on a marriage. Yes?
Yes.
So one thing I want to talk about with you that I think has not necessarily been a bad thing, but just something that we have had to be very intentional about, is staying united and staying on the same team.
Okay.
And I think that if we were not raising a child with a disability, and if we were raising a neurotypical child who went to daycare, you know, and I worked full-time, you worked full-time, we came home. Okay, I think it has forced us to work very hard at making sure that I don't become like the dominant parent. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the one who's in control of everything. I think the fact that my schedule is a little more flexible with my job makes it so that a lot of it depends on my schedule. But just because I'm the one going to these appointments and taking him to therapy does not mean that you're not as involved as I am. You know what I mean? Like, presence does not equal commitment level. Presence does not equal concern or value in the appointments. And so, I mean, especially right now in COVID, we haven't gone to an appointment together. I mean, the surgery was the first thing since croup.
And we just haven't been allowed to even.
We haven't been allowed to. And so even like well checks, normally we would always go to well checks. You would get well checks off of work. You would come with me. And you know what's funny is right before COVID, in February, do you remember me saying to you, hey, I'm having a hard time going to all these medical appointments by myself. Do you think you could make it work to start coming with me to more? And you said, absolutely. You know, like, you were like, yeah, no problem. I had burnout really bad before COVID, with taking him to therapy all the time. And then as he hit that 1 year mark, specialist appointments started stacking up and things like that. And I burned out really fast. And so I went to Kyle and I said, I need help with this specific thing. I can do the therapy by myself, but medical stuff I need help with. That was getting overwhelming for me. And so he said, for sure, you know, that was a super easy agreement that we came to. Mm-hmm. And alas, it was the thing that could never be, because...
No, I don't agree with that, because, like I went to his SMO appointment, like, there
yeah,
was still...
Yeah.
Like...
You've taken him to a few appointments.
It even probably became more so because we weren't allowed to go to appointments together. Mm-hmm. So all the appointments through the summer and everything was just one of us going, and a lot of times it was possible to be me. Mm-hmm. The SMO, we switched because you wanted to go.
I wanted to meet the doctor.
She wanted to meet the doctor on the day he got fitted. So that was kind of fun that we both got to experience that. But
I like to go to his pediatrician appointments because his pediatrician was my pediatrician.
There's nothing hard about it.
I agree.
It's just different.
Yeah. It's intense.
But
it's very intense.
Even though it's different, it is more alike than different.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, we kind of got put in our place the other night by Taylor's mom. She kind of laughed at us and made fun of us. Because she was like, he's the healthiest kid I've ever met in my entire life.
I know. She was laughing because
she was like, well, how are you... he hasn't even had...
She basically was like, my neurotypical son had more ear infections in his first year.
And we had to be like, but George had croup. And she was like, yeah. So did George. So did, like... You,
yeah.
So and it's just one of those things where, like, in the moment it can seem heavier than it is.
Yeah, we're constantly ready to fight, I think, and I think that makes us a good team. Is that whenever anybody comes to us with any of this stuff, we're like, you know what I mean? Like, we're ready to be like, no, and a lot of the times we've had to step back and be like, oh yeah, that's true. You know what I mean? Like, because of what our experiences have been, we've had to fight way less. So I guess the overall message of this is that...
I clapped.
It's okay. Down syndrome has not been a negative thing in our marriage. Again, we recognize that we went into it willingly. We were not blindsided by it. However, because Kyle and I were both on the same page at the very beginning that we were fine raising kids with disabilities, I think we would have been fine had we been surprised by a diagnosis.
I think so.
And so,
but you can't say that if our paths had been different.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like if you
I think that goes to our compatibility, and I think it goes to our partnership. And
because if we were exactly the same people we were, but you had never worked where
at
you worked,
the theater company,
like
it was the whole reason. No,
it would have been a completely different thing. I do think we would have been fine if we had, had a surprise diagnosis of something.
Absolutely.
But it would have been like we never would have had that conversation ahead of time because it wouldn't have been like on our radar.
Yeah.
But
you can't know what you can't know, but I do firmly believe that we would be fine parenting whatever type of child with whatever diagnosis, with whatever, because we are a good team. And I think it comes down to that in parenthood in general, with or without a diagnosis on top of it. You know what I mean? Like, if you and your partner are a good team, it makes the hard stuff not that hard because you have a teammate to do it with.
I think more so, well, not more so, but in addition to, I guess, is that we have a good team around us.
Yeah, we have a great village. They say it takes a village, and that's true. And ours is really supportive. But at the end of the day, I love you.
She's just saying that because this is coming out on our anniversary.
No, I love you. And I think we have a great marriage. It's not a perfect marriage, but what is a perfect marriage?
Don't tell me.
But I really love raising George with you. It's really fun. Even when it's really hard and stressful, like when we were driving home from the hospital the other day, I had like butterflies in my stomach because I was like, we just went through this really hard thing, but we did it together, and it's fine. It's fine.
It's not fine. It's good. It's like it's positive. It's not neutral fine.
Yeah. It's very good. Our marriage, I think our marriage has been more benefited than anything from George's, and that just may be because George is just pure magic, but that could be because of his Down syndrome. But kids are really hard on a marriage. That's true, like for sure. We are not exempt from that just because of his diagnosis. It is easy to fall into the trap of like being co-parents and forgetting that we are partners.
Like literally just today, he was crawling towards like a cabinet, and Taylor was getting ready to go shopping, and she was like, "All right, bye. Have fun with that." And she had she had already tagged out.
Yeah. So I hope you got something from this, us rambling about the gift of George in our marriage.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't worry about it long term. Do you worry about it long term?
No.
I don't have a single worry in my mind. If you are watching this and you are wondering what Down syndrome does to a marriage, we are not the only example, of course, but let us be an example of Down syndrome has been a very positive thing to our family and to our marriage specifically. I think our marriage is way stronger because of it. That's all we have.
Goodbye!
Happy Down Syndrome Awareness, Acceptance, Appreciation Month. I've got more stuff coming up. Thank you so much for watching. We are the Johnsons. We are married. And we have a child with Down syndrome. We have a very happy marriage. Thank you for watching.
We probably can't say that.
I'll have another video out soon. We have to ignore him. And then he'll stop talking.
You really do. That's the best way to deal with me.
Bye!
Bye! You told me that was a rule.